adorn in the battle's chill. Flags unfurled, we march uphill. Hearts like fire, unbreakable will. Voices united, echoing still. For freedom we stand and are unmet. This long and struggle our spirits set. Hands clasped, time, strength unspent. In unity we find our lament. Under starry skies our dreams ignite. Facing the dark with fearless light. Though shadows fall, they cannot light a love for land, our fighting might. For freedom we stand and are unmet. The storm and struggle our spirits set. Hands clasped, tight, strength unspent. In unity we find our lament. Under starry skies our dreams ignite. Facing the dark with fearless light. Though shadows fall, they cannot light a love for land, our fighting might.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I am your host, Joseph Rose of the Common Sense Pros and Cons podcast. And there's only one con in common sense. You will be angry. Today it's looking like we're just gonna get into some interviews with select individuals such as Marco Rubio, Vice President J.D. Vance, and also the exiled Iranian prince. Following the aftermath of Operation Midnight Hammer. Okay, and as I said in the last stream, it's kind of aggravating to me seeing what, like, I get where conservatives are coming from, right? Especially because conservatives typically are the ones who join the military and fight, and they're the ones who go to war, right? Like, we're the ones who have to shoulder the burden of carrying out the dirty business of the United States, right? So I understand conservatives more so than Democrats being upset with a potential war scenario or something like that, man. But what's currently going on with the Republican Party, I don't know what the fuck happened. A couple months ago, in the last since I was in the Marine Corps, man, you had all these prominent conservative voices that were growing, and they were growing because they were common sense. It wasn't necessarily that they were conservative. They so happen to be conservative, but I would label them as common sense conservatives, right? Like, the shit they said was just common sense. It wasn't actually a matter of being left or right. It was just common sense. And over the last couple months, I've seen a decline, a slip. I don't know what the fuck's going on with all these people. They're just saying it's now like people on the right, conservatives in the media space are literally starting to try to do with the media the same shit we've just bitched about for the last fucking 10 years by leftist media, and that the leftist media still continues to do, right? Instead of sticking with common sense and shit like that, they're now going really hard to try to manipulate a narrative and push a narrative instead of the narrative just being normal shit. So, like, every time I get on Facebook, it's just Facebook. Like, I don't know why people say that X is just a toxic place. When I get on X, I don't see the same level of toxicity or stupidity that I do on fucking Facebook, right? But like, when I get on Facebook, all of the conservative people that I follow, man, it's just they're bandwagoning on the same stupid shit, right? Like, you got Sean Strickland saying the same thing, the same shit. The Hodge twins, Ben Shapiro, fucking et cetera, right? They're all saying this dumb shit. Like, people don't understand, right? Israel was created in part by the United States. Israel serves as like our largest proxy and our sole ally within the Middle Eastern region. Now, just remember, for anyone who doesn't know, anytime I refer to someone as an ally or an adversary, just imagine I'm doing this, right? Because on the fucking international stage, at any given point in time, everyone is your enemy and everyone is your ally, right? It like allies really aren't actually your fucking allies. You know, they always want something. They're always seeking to serve their own interests, and so are we, right? We're no better and we're no worse than there are people we are better than, but like we're typically not worse than other fucking people. But for a somewhat kind of context, right? We're no better or no worse, right? Everybody seeks to serve their own self-interest, right? So all of the stupid fucking all of the intelligent conservatives that are playing fucking dumb right now who keep saying, "Oh, I don't want to get involved in Israel's war." It's not fucking Israel's war. I mean, it is, right? But it's like we're the ones who deposed the Shahs of Iran, and then radical Islam took over Iran, and now they have the mission fucking mindset of eradicating the United States and killing Americans. Iran is the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world. Everybody fucking agrees. Left and right. Right? And you'll hear it in these fucking interviews. Everybody fucking agrees Iran is the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world. Other because they're not Arab, right? But Arab Muslim countries agree, right? And Arab Muslim countries are like the other sponsors of fucking terrorism in the world for the most part. Okay? Taking out Iran's nuclear sites because they don't want to come to the negotiating table, right? They had 60 fucking days to come to an agreement, right? It doesn't matter if they have fucking nukes or not. They have weapons grade enrichment on radioactive material. Why else would you have that unless you're seeking to fucking weaponize that nuclear material? Stop playing fucking stupid. It's really fucking pissing me off. And I'm a nobody, right? And when the nobodies are getting fucking pissed off at the stupidity of everyone else, we're coming up on some fucking problems. You're indeed second, Sylv. Welcome in. I don't know where Matt's at right meow. Are you still streaming, man? I know I said I said it's time, so usually you shut down. You shut down your stream. But right? So everyone's playing stupid. Iran is a threat to the fucking United States. I don't care if they're just a mosquito or a fly kind of threat, right? They don't have to be a fucking bear or a lion or a tiger, oh my, right? Like I don't give a fuck about that. They're a threat, period. They want to fuck around, period. So now they're finding out. Period. If you're upset with what's going on now, you might want to retroactively look at who the fuck you were voting for and their actions handling the situation with Iran. Obama gave fucking billions of dollars to Iran. Biden lifted fucking sanctions on Iran for them to reinvigorate their economy. So not necessarily directly giving them billions of our dollars, but allowing them to get billions of dollars in the sale of like oil and shit like that. Right? Like our previous presidents have created the fucking Iran that exists today. And the problem just so happens to fall at the feet of fucking Trump, and he has to fucking deal with it. And all of you fucking war veterans, all of you actual fucking war veterans, not any of you fucking bitches who think you're a fucking veteran because you served in the Air Force and you were in Kuwait or Germany or some shit like that. All you just shut the fuck up. All of you war veterans, right? I'm not a war veteran, so I'm gonna shut the fuck up too right after this, right? All of you know what kind of fucking cultures persist over in the Middle East, and all of you know the mentalities of the people in the Middle East. They don't fucking care about what you want. They don't fucking care about what you believe. Right? Just like we don't fucking care about what they want, and we don't fucking care about what they believe, right? It's reciprocated. They want to destroy us, period. They have made that clear. Clear as the fucking sun in the sky during the day, right? It's evident, right? They have declared it, right? I don't want fucking boots on the ground in Iran either, because if we go boots on the ground, I'm going to contact my fucking recruiter and see if I'm still eligible to fucking re-enlist, right? But So I don't fucking want that. But I absolutely fucking agree with the airstrikes against Iran because Iran is a fucking threat to this country. They're a threat to the Western civilizations. Islamic radicalization is the biggest threat to fucking global stability currently. Immediately preceding that is Western liberalism. And then on top of that, Iran is also hated by the rest of the Middle East, and the rest of the Middle East sees Iran as the region's fucking instability as well. Oh, making lunch, huh? What you making us? All right, but let's get into what these people have to say. I'm gonna break it down as we go. Right. We're starting off with Marco Rubio's. He did a Face the Nation with, I don't know what this lady said. I don't know her name, but she's a fucking idiot.
Trump administration officials are breathing a sigh of relief that the highly classified bombing mission appears to have gone off without a hitch. But there is also concern now about what happens next when it comes to Iran. Operation Midnight Hammer involved top secret planning and a head fake as two strike forces of B-2 bombers departed the U.S., flying in opposite directions late Friday night. On Saturday, defense officials confirmed to CBS News that there were, in fact, B-2s headed to Guam, flying west from their home in Missouri. But those were decoys. A separate fleet of B-2s departed from that same location, heading east to the targets in Iran. Pentagon officials say the mission was an overwhelming success, but also concede it is too early to assess if Iran still has nuclear capability. 14 30,000-pound massive ordnance penetrator weapons, or MOPS, dropped on an underground nuclear facility in Fordow and a key uranium enrichment site in Natanz. Additional American Tomahawk struck a third site at Isfahan.
I think Iran is certainly calculating the reality that planes flew from the middle of America and Missouri overnight, completely undetected over three of their most highly sensitive sites, and we were able to destroy nuclear capabilities. We believe that'll have a clear psychological impact on how they view the future.
At the White House late last night, President Trump issued his own stern warning to Iran.
We're going to have to bomb
There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill.
I'm never going to be able to run for fucking president.
And those words, go after other targets, have led to confusion and some concern about what is next for the U.S. role in this very volatile crisis. Secretary of State and acting White House National Security Advisor Marco Rubio now joins us. Mr. Secretary, I know it has been an intense few hours.
I think J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio need to run together
has
next.
Yet retaliated against the United States. What intelligence do you have at this point about their capabilities to respond, the intent of their proxies? Is there any kind of command and control structure left to activate them?
Yeah, well, we'll see what Iran decides to do. I think they should choose the route of peace. We've done everything. We have bent over backwards, okay, to create a deal with these people. Steve Witkoff has traveled the world extensively, met with them. Well, not even met with them, met through the Omanis with them and discussed back and forth. We even put an offer to them that they wanted elements of it in writing, and we offered it to them. Very generous offer, by the way. We've done it, and we're prepared right now. If they call right now and say, we want to meet, let's talk about this, we're prepared to do that. The president's made that clear from the very beginning. His preference is to deal with this issue diplomatically. But he also told them we had 60 days to make progress or something else was going to happen. And I think they thought they were dealing with a different kind of leader, like the kinds of leaders they've been playing games with for the last 30 or 40 years. And they found out that's not the case. So this mission was a very precise mission. It had three objectives, three nuclear sites. It was not an attack on Iran. It was not an attack on the Iranian people. This wasn't a regime change move. This was designed to degrade and or destroy three nuclear sites related to their nuclear weaponization ambitions. And that was delivered on yesterday. What happens next will now depend on what Iran chooses to do next. If they choose the path of diplomacy, we're ready. We can do a deal that's good for them, the Iranian people, and good for the world. If they choose another route, then there'll be consequences for that.
Let me follow up on a phrase you just word, weaponization ambitions. Are you saying there that the United
So let me pause it right there, right? I just want to point this out because I've seen a lot of dumb fucking comments. A majority of all diplomacy to ever occur between nations happens after violence, not before violence. Very little diplomacy happens before violence. And even fewer successful diplomacy fucking options occur before violence. Right? So Iran had 60 days. They already knew absolutely what the United States wanted. They wanted the exact opposite of what the United States wanted. They decided to fuck around and not even actually attempt to negotiate with the United States on how to come to an amicable solution, right? So they used the last 60 days in order to reinforce their position, right? That's why on day 61, the war between Israel and Iran started. So let me point that out again, right? So the United States was conducting fucking negotiations with Iran for the last 60 days. And the entire time, it wasn't looking like they were going to negotiate, and they didn't. And then on day 61, Israel, one of the proxies in the Middle East of the United States, went to war with Iran. Imagine that. It's almost like Israel isn't. It's not Israel's war. Like, you know, it's mutually beneficial to both of us, right? But a lot of people are saying, like, because Iran said the United States just blew up our negotiations. They weren't negotiating in the fucking first place. All they were doing they were using the facade of negotiations in order to fucking facilitate their position more so. Right? So, and that's exactly what happens in ceasefires. Ceasefires are only beneficial to the individual that's losing. Right? Not only, but they're primarily beneficial to the side that's fucking losing. The ceasefires are used for people who are losing to reinforce themselves and refresh their position. Right? The people who are winning don't need the fucking ceasefire. So that, you know, it's just you got to think about this shit when you hear this stuff.
United States did not see intelligence that the supreme leader had ordered weaponization.
Wow. I don't know what the fuck is wrong with our media and Americans in this country. Look at how she said that, right? She's already doing everything in her power to try to demonize the Trump administration and defend Iran, right? And she goes on to admit that, like, they're a radical regime, right? And they're bad for the region and shit like that. Like, how stupid! Like, this is how you know you're not an intellectual. You think you're a reporter, but you're not a reporter. Look at the questions you're asking. You are asking politically charged questions to try to defame our own government and our own nation. Why? Because if you think about it, why the fuck? What does it matter if the Ayatollah orders weaponization? Oh, wow. Hey, you mean to tell me Iran, the country that hates us and that wants nuclear weapons because we have nuclear weapons and it's believed that Israel has nuclear weapons, isn't going to publicly declare that they're seeking nuclear weapons? How fucking stupid do you have to be? They have a ballistic missile fucking program. They have ballistic missiles. They have been building and testing more advanced ballistic missiles over the last few fucking decades. Right? They have enriched uranium past the point of energy use or even research use. They have uranium that's can be used for weapons grade and can be pushed even further for more fucking lethal weapons grade fucking radioactive material. How stupid do you have to be to go, well, the Ayatollah didn't say to weaponize it? How stupid do you have to be? Seriously.
That's even.
Oh.
Relevant. I see that question being asked in the media. That's an irrelevant question.
No,
they have
that is
everything
the
they need
key
to build a
point
weapon.
in U.S. intelligence assessments. You know that.
No, it's not.
Yes, it was.
No, it's
that
not.
Yeah. One, you are the reporter. You ask the question and then you listen to this. This is how you know they're trying to push a fucking agenda, because she's trying to interrupt him and assert what she is saying over him, right? You're the reporter, right? Or you're the interviewer. You ask the questions and you wait for the fucking response. You shut the fuck up. How the fuck are you going to tell the Secretary of State that you, as a dumb bitch who doesn't know anything outside of your little fucking studio and going to your house and going to get groceries, right? You don't know anything about the world abroad. You don't know anything about fucking foreign cultures. You don't know anything about foreign fucking relations or anything like that. And you're trying to tell the fucking Secretary of State, like, arrogance.
the political decision had not
I know
been
that better
made.
than you know that, and I know that that's not the case.
But I'm asking you whether the order was given.
And the people who say that, it doesn't matter if the order was given. They have everything they need to build nuclear weapons. Why would you bury things in a mountain, 300 feet under the ground?
Right.
Why would you bury why do they have 60% enriched uranium? You don't need 60% enriched uranium. The only countries in the world that have uranium at 60% are countries that have nuclear weapons.
Yep.
Because it can just quickly make it 90. They have all the elements. They have. Why do they have a space program? Is Iran going to go to the moon? No. They're trying to build an ICBM.
No, but that's a question. That's a question. That's a question.
This is what happens when you have common sense. When you have common sense, you're like Marco Rubio, right? The only countries on planet Earth that have 60% enriched nuclear material are the countries on planet Earth that already have nuclear weapons. So that's it. The interview's over. You're fucking stupid. Stop trying to push a fucking agenda.
Of intent, and you know in the intelligence assessment that it was that Iran wanted to be a threshold state and use this leverage. I'm talking about the public March assessment, and that's why I was asking you if you know something more from March.
But that's also an inaccurate
order was
representation of it. That's an accurate representation of it. That's not how intelligence is read. That's not how intelligence is used. Here's what the whole world knows. Forget about intelligence. What the IAEA knows. They are enriching uranium well beyond anything you need for a civil nuclear program. So why would you enrich uranium at 60%?
Right.
If you don't intend to one day use it to take it to 90 and build a weapon.
Right.
Why are you developing ICBMs? Why do you have 8,000 short-range missiles and 2,000 to 3,000 long mid-range missiles that you continue to develop? Why do you do all these things? They have everything they need for a nuclear weapon. They have the delivery mechanism.
You don't understand. You don't understand because you're not actually trying to fucking get legitimate answers or ask legitimate questions. And this is why CBS is trash. This is why you have no fucking credibility. Because you have women like her, and I'm sure it's not her narrative, right? I'm sure it's your company's narrative, and she just works for the company, so she pushes that narrative. She's agreeing with them. So then what more questions does she have to ask?
They have the enrichment capability. They have the highly enriched uranium that is stored.
Yes.
That's all we need to see.
Right. Well, and
especially in the hands of a regime that's already involved in terrorism and proxies and all kinds of things around. They are the source of all instability in the Middle East.
No one's disputing that. I'm not doing that here. And they were censured at the IAEA for that enrichment and for.
Let me see what you said, Java. What'd you say? Two of my favorite political streamers live. They're finished, but they studied English for 7 years. So yeah, this would be collab of the year. Katsotan Yadesa Woki Pokiri. What? Okay.
Violating their non-proliferation agreements. I was simply asking if we had intelligence that there was an order to weaponize, because you said weaponization ambitions.
Well, we have intelligence that they have everything they need to build a nuclear weapon, and that's more than enough.
Okay. I want to ask you on the policy front. There are personnel throughout the Middle East from the United States, in Bahrain, in Kuwait, in other bases. If those countries are attacked by Iran because of their association with the United States, will the United States defend them?
Well, that's exactly why they're there. That's a great point, actually. Do you know why we have bases in Bahrain and Qatar and UAE and all these places? All of those bases are there because those countries are afraid that Iran will attack them. If Iran was not a threat to the region, if the Iranian regime, because I'm talking about the Iranian people, the regime was not a threat to the region, we wouldn't have to have any of these bases. Those bases are there because those countries are petrified that that the Iranian Shia clerics that run that country will attack their countries.
Will the United
As you
States
know, they've
defend
got
them
a
if they
very
are?
difficult history. Well, that's why we're there.
I'm
That's why
covering
we're there.
things right now.
So, yes,
they'll
we
attack
will
us,
defend
is
them.
what they're threatening to do. So we'll defend our people, obviously. We'll defend our people. Well, they'll attack our bases. And those are our bases, and we're going to defend our personnel, and we're prepared to do that. But we'll do more than just defend. We'll impose costs on Iran if they attack American personnel, whether they do it directly or whether they do it through some of these proxies that they try to hide behind. And that includes the Houthis.
Yeah.
So another proxy of theirs. So, but let's hope they don't choose that route. Let's all hope that they actually decide, okay, let's go negotiate, because we want a diplomatic and peaceful solution. We have achieved our objectives. We're ready to negotiate this in a peaceful, diplomatic way. We've been prepared to do that for days. They are the ones that played games, as they have done for 40 years, as they have done to multiple presidents. They tried to play games with President Trump, and they see what happens. This is not a game-playing president. When he says he's going to do something, he will do it.
I hear you saying here you want to de-escalate when you are talking about diplomacy. You are looking for Iran to pick up that offer that was put on the table you mentioned by Steve Witkoff. Can you just clarify, does that mean the U.S. would still allow for Iran to have a civilian nuclear program if it does not enrich on its own soil?
But that's never been an issue. There's countries all over the world that have a civil
But
nuclear
that's still the
program. No
offer
one
on
here
the
is saying
table?
that Iran can't. Sure, that's always been there. Any country in the world has a right to have a civil nuclear program. What they don't have a right to do is to enrich it at 60%, hide it under a mountain, and develop long-range and short-range and mid-range missiles and sponsor terrorist proxies all over the world. They don't have a right to do that. And that's what they've been doing. And no one's dealt with it. And it's continued to linger. And they've played games with multiple presidents and multiple countries around the world, and they've gotten away with it for 40-something years. This is very simple. The president wants to resolve this diplomatically and peacefully. He gave them a chance to do that. They delayed. They had all these kind of delay tactics. They wouldn't even meet with us directly. We had to go through third countries. This is very simple. Let's meet directly. Let's work on agreements that are good for Iran, good for the Iranian people in particular, good for the safety and security of the world and the United States. That's always been our preference. That continues to be our preference. But they're the ones that were playing games with us. And these are the consequences. We had to achieve those objectives. We had 3 objectives yesterday: Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. We conducted a brilliant military operation under the command of President Trump, and obviously great credit to Secretary Hegseth and General Kurilla and General Kane and all the airmen and the phenomenal people in the U.S. military. No other military in the world could have done this.
No,
We've
it was
achieved
astounding.
those objectives. What happens next is up to the regime. Okay, the regime wants peace. We're ready for peace.
Okay.
They want to do something else. They're incredibly vulnerable. They can't even protect their own airspace.
Well, clearly they could not. But what is the U.S. assessment of how much nuclear material at those sites was moved prior to the attack? There has been talk for days about bombing of Fordow.
Well, look, we don't. No one will know for sure
unless they have an underground transit system. Like, are you people stupid? Like, they can detect radioactive signatures from space, guys, with satellites. The United States has the most satellites in orbit around Earth. You don't think that we constantly have satellites over countries that we label as adversaries? Also, Israel has been pushing their shit in for the last week and has their airspace completely locked down. What do you... Oh, people don't fucking think, man.
For days, but I doubt they moved it, because you really can't move anything right now. And they can't move anything right now inside of Iran. I mean, the minute a truck starts driving somewhere, the Israelis have seen it and they've targeted it and taken it out. So our assessment is we have to assume that that's a lot of 60% enriched uranium buried deep under the ground there in Esfahan. And that really is the key. What they should do with that is they should bring it out of the ground and turn it over. Multiple countries around the world will take it and downblend it. That's what they should do with that. And what they should do is say, we're not going to have any enrichment capability in our country. Instead, what we're going to have is a civil nuclear program like dozens of countries around the world have, where we build reactors that create electricity and we import enriched material. And we've made very general, I'm not going to get all the details of the offers, but there are other avenues here that would be acceptable to them. If that's what they wanted, if what they want is a civil, peaceful nuclear program, the route has always been there. The problem is that everything they're demanding has nothing to do with a peaceful program.
Yeah,
they are all the things you would want if you want to retain the option of one day weaponizing the program.
Okay.
Which has been their clear intent To me, that's indisputable. I followed this issue for 15 years,
Yeah.
including the intelligence on it for 15 years. Okay, I have followed it. And the intelligence, these are assessments, and sometimes they've been wrong. I've seen them revised multiple times. These guys want a nuclear weapon one day.
Okay,
They
to
do.
that point.
And it isn't going to.
Yeah, and I just have to point out, right? Like, intelligence gets it wrong. And intelligence tells you, right? So like what she asked earlier, like how intelligence says that the Ayatollah did not give the order to weaponize. That doesn't mean that they're not weaponizing it, right? That just means that the order wasn't fucking given, right? Like, it's not something that they fucking convened in parliament and fucking said, it's time to make nuclear weapons, and then they declared it to the world. When you have a whole bunch of other people breathing down your neck and trying to prevent you from fucking making nuclear weapons, but you want to make nuclear weapons, do you think you're going to let those people know that you're making nuclear weapons? No, right? Just like fucking kids lie to their parents over dumb shit because they don't want to get in trouble.
Going to happen. Not while Donald Trump is president.
Understood. You've said this is not about regime change, but you are describing a regime that you have said for decades, I mean, for upwards of 40 years, has chanted death to America, has done all the things you just described. Isn't a diplomatic deal with them a lifeline? Aren't you offering to negotiate with the same people you're saying did all these things? So therefore, are you actually
but that misses the
looking for
point.
regime change?
Yeah, this is such a dumb fucking question, and this is what I'm saying of how the media in this country fucking plays, right? Everybody knows we want regime change. Why are you asking that fucking question? It only makes us look bad, it makes us look more aggressive, and it makes us look more hostile if we're sitting here saying, yes, we're going to depose the Ayatollah and change regimes, right? We have a very long track record of doing this shit to other countries unsuccessfully and just generating fucking animosity from foreign cultures and shit like that. Okay? A lot of shit I see indicates that a majority of the Iranian people, actually, they're the ones who want regime change, right? Saudi Arabia wants Iranian regime change. Iraq wants Iranian regime change. Turkey wants Iranian regime change. Fucking Egypt wants Iranian regime change. The only people who don't want Iranian regime change at this fucking point are probably China, right? Because personally, I think Russia is only aligned with China and Iran and North Korea and shit like that because of the West. Like, you have to understand that before communism took over fucking over Russia, right? Like, they were more aligned with Western values. At one point in time, like, they were like the remnants of the Christian church as well. Like, there's been multiple times where Christianity has been brought to its knees. Like, other empires that were the host of Christianity were wiped out, right? You know, like there's been like the Byzantine Empire. That was like the seat of Orthodox Christianity, right? And that's why you still have Orthodox Christians in fucking Turkey, right? And then also with Russia. And then, you know, like, I understand the West didn't really want Russia, like Russia cooperation and shit like that because they saw what communism did to fucking Russia, right? Like, France was helping Russia fight its civil war against the fucking communists, right? Like, the West saw what communism did to Russia. So they were like, yeah, no, we don't want any of that. But Russia has so much more in common. The Russian people have so much more in common with Europe than they do fucking China or Iran, right? Russia has also been the victim of Islamic terrorists on multiple fucking occasions, right? So has China. China is really against fucking Islam. The only reason that all these countries are aligned with one another is because we've blacklisted them so hard. We have forced them all to be fucking friends with each other, right? So, I forgot where my point was going. Let me hold up.
Aren't you offering to negotiate with the same?
Oh yeah, so the regime change, right? Like, I'm sure that even Russia probably actually wants Iranian regime change in the long run. The only reason that they support Iran, like I said, is because we fucking pushed them there. Everybody wants Iranian regime change. It's in the best interest of global stability. It's not just the US, it's not just Israel, it's not just the West. It's also the other major powers of the fucking Middle East, right? So And right now, Iran is trying to. They're going to close the Strait of Hormuz. A lot of fucking oil goes through the Strait of Hormuz. It's gonna fuck up the East more than it's gonna fuck up the West, predominantly China, right?
People you're saying did all these things, so therefore, are you actually
but that misses the
looking for
point.
regime change?
She's a dumbass. She's a dumbass.
That misses the point. I don't like that they chant those things, but one thing is that they chant those things. Another thing is that they chant those things and they have terror proxies are all over the world, and they have long-range missiles that can reach the United States one day. And
Yeah, like right. That kind of makes sense. Right? Do you want Iran to be retarded and chant death to America, right? Or do you want Iran to be retarded, chant death to America, and have nuclear weapons to back it up?
they have the potential to be one step away from a nuclear weapon. Yeah, well, one day could be tomorrow, could be a week from now, could be a month from now. You know, all it takes is the flip of a switch. By the way, they're not going to broadcast that to the world. By the time we figure out that they're doing it, you have all the pieces in place. Okay, it's like you have
I'd like Java. I'm down to do that stuff at some point, right? But I would like to get it set up in advance and like know what we're discussing or whatever, right?
A gun here and the ammunition. It only takes 1 second. We have other targets that we could hit, but we achieved our objective. The primary targets we were interested in are the ones that were struck tonight in devastating fashion. The ones that were struck, I guess, tonight over there, their time, in devastating fashion, and we've achieved that objective. There are no planned military operations right now against Iran unless they mess around and they attack American or American interests. Then they're going to have a problem.
He was going to say it. Marco Rubio was about to say, he was about to assert international diplomacy is now up to the standard of fuck around and find out.
Then they're going to have a problem, and I'm not going to broadcast what those problems are, but suffice it to say, know this. The United States flew halfway around the world, right into the heart of Iran, over their most sensitive locations. These things got rocked, and then we left, and we were out of their airspace. We were over the ocean before they figured out what had happened. Yeah. And there are plenty of other targets. We don't want to do that. That's not our preference. We want peace deals with them.
You can't keep saying understood just because you hear something.
You said defend American interests. Would the United States military take action to keep, for example, the transit point, the Strait of Hormuz open? If there are attacks on oil installations, would the United States consider that a direct act by the state, even if it was carried out by a militia?
Well, I'm not going to take options away from the president. That's not something we're talking about right now in terms of being immediate. But if they do that,
this is the thing about, like, this is how you know that Trump is actually a good president, right? And this is how you know the left actually wants to destroy this country and make us dependent on foreign interests. If people want to come out and be up, so you have two options when foreign countries are fucking around with our oil imports, right? Or oil for that matter, because it's not like when somebody fucks around with oil, it just affects where that oil is going to. It has a reverberation across the entire economic spectrum of fucking petrol, basically, or oil products, right? So like if they fuck around with some oil fields in like Saudi Arabia, right? Not only like that doesn't just hurt wherever that oil in particular is going to, that hurts everybody's fucking oil prices and shit like that. Okay? So people don't understand. Like Trump gets in office, right? And he goes, "Hey, you know what I want to do? I want to make the US less economically dependent on foreign nations for basically all of our products and all of our energy needs." So he wants to drill for oil and natural gas and shit like that in the United States, because if we are domestically producing what's required by our country for these things, for energy resources, then we have no excuse to get involved in foreign affairs in terms of like warfare or conflict, right? Kinetic diplomacy, because it doesn't affect us. It won't fuck with us because it's all domestically sourced. But All of the leftists in this country are against that. Why? Because they want us to be dependent on these fucking foreign countries and then keep trying to assert our influence over these countries while simultaneously saying we're a terrible country and we're imperialistic and shit like that. It makes zero fucking sense. This is how you know Trump is actually a president who wants peace, because that's the level of isolationism that Trump wants. Right? He doesn't want complete and total fucking isolationism. He just moved America in the direction of becoming isolationist in the aspects that remove us from having to engage in kinetic diplomacy with other fucking countries. The only other fucking diplomacy that we have is just like whatever the fuck we want it to be. It's nothing that's actually going to threaten the fucking the country as a whole.
People that should be angry about it are the Chinese government, because they take a lot of their oil comes through there. So they should be the first ones that are saying if they mine the Straits of Hormuz, the Chinese are going to pay a huge price. And every other country in the world is going to pay a huge price. We will too. It'll have some impact on us. It'll have a lot more impact on the rest of the world. A lot more impact on the rest of the world. It would be a suicidal move on their part, because I think the whole world would come against them if they did that.
Will the Chinese and Russians stop trading with Iran?
No, they didn't.
You have to ask the Chinese and the Russians.
You haven't asked them?
Not.
No, that's so dumb. That's like saying no one trades with North Korea. Multiple intelligence agencies and multiple fucking like independent fucking watchdog groups literally have fucking thousands, tens of thousands of like pages of documentation of other countries still trading with fucking North Korea and North Korea trading with them. They just don't do it officially, or they go through like multiple third parties to conduct the trade. This is what I'm saying. Get her the fuck out of there. Put her at a desk in like a dark room in the corner of the office and have her file paperwork, because she's retarded. And whoever's running CBS, right? Like the people who own CBS, if they're not the ones pushing this level of stupidity, you need to fire everyone at CBS, because whoever is running the fucking show is pushing an unfathomable level of fucking insane fucking stupidity, right? Oh, China and Russia aren't trading with Iran. You dumb bitch. Shut the fuck up. Yes, they are. What do you mean? Oh, you're trusting what Russia and China say now? Yeah, that makes sense, right?
I mean, they're getting, the Russians are getting a bunch of these, these drones that they're using are coming from Iran.
Exactly.
They're coming from Iran. So I saw the foreign minister, instead of meeting with Steve Witkoff, is headed to Moscow to meet with Putin, which was a pre-scheduled meeting, which is fine. They can go meet. And, the Russians, at the end of the day, I mean, they buy drones from them. But look, this is very simple. We want to have an agreement with them, a diplomatic agreement in which they have a civil nuclear program but are not enriching and don't have weapons-grade material or weapons-grade.
I honestly don't understand why leftists are so upset, right? Because the GU-57 bunker buster munitions that we dropped on Iran were mostly peaceful. They were mostly peaceful bunker busters. Right? So I don't understand why they're so upset, because we can have mostly peaceful fucking riots where people are burning vehicles and attacking law enforcement and shit like that. And to the left, that's fine. But God forbid we have mostly peaceful bunker buster bombs.
Capabilities
Jeez.
Laying around. That's that simple. That's our interest here.
Understood.
Who they trade with, who they deal with, those are other topics. Our objective here is very straightforward. They're not going to have a nuclear weapon. They're not even going to get close to a nuclear weapon. They're not even going to be in the neighborhood of a nuclear weapon, because these people are dangerous. This is a radical Shia clerics who run that country,
yes.
and they are the source of all instability.
You heard her, right? She said yes. So why the fuck are you trying so hard to undermine this administration and the current fucking like stances they've taken? That's what I want to fucking know.
In the region, all of it. Without
and you're
Iran
offering to
and this
negotiate
regime,
with them.
there is no Hamas, there is no Hezbollah. Well, because we don't want them to have a nuclear weapon.
Okay, but
that's the core objective. But I'm going through the things they've done, because that's why they can't have a nuclear weapon. Okay, they sponsor Shias.
Yeah,
they sponsor these Shia militias, Hamas, Hezbollah, all these other terrorist groups. These people are never going to get anywhere close to a nuclear weapon. Not while Donald Trump is president.
For the Americans at home who are going, are we at war? You know, I'm trying to suss out some of the facts here. So why would Iran agree?
Let me tell you guys something, right? So I got up this morning, right? I went for a run. I came back home. I took my dogs for a long ass walk. While I was taking my dogs for a walk, I saw multiple people get up to get in their vehicles and drive presumably to work. I passed a dude ripping a bong. He was just walking down the road ripping his bong while I was walking the dogs. Then I went and did some community service at the fucking church down the road, fucking raking up their like yard areas and getting that all cleaned up, right? Pulling weeds and shit. And all these vehicles are driving by, and other people are walking around, like they're walking their dogs, and no one fucking cares. This is what people don't understand in this country, right? It's the media that are trying to push the narrative and the emotions onto you, and then say that it's y'all that have that narrative or those emotions. Sylph, do you fucking do you wake up every day wondering if we're at war with Iran? Did you wake up this morning like you were in the stream yesterday when I covered Operation Midnight Hammer, right? Were you concerned about if we were at war with Iran? My younger brother wasn't. Matt wasn't. My fucking parents aren't. My sister isn't. Nobody cares. Nobody fucking cares. This is something like wars do not affect America the way that they affect other countries. We only care when we keep watching the news and seeing all this shit, and the media keeps pushing these fucking narratives on us. If nobody in this country watched the news, nobody would even know that fucking America just fucking dropped bombs on Iran's nuclear facilities.
Agree to any peace deal if the United States has already pulled out of one that they had.
Time to stock up on canned food and water bottles, then jump into the basement. Honestly, I've got my own problems. I'll be concerned when the war gets in my way. Exactly.
As President Trump did in 2018, and now has launched 2 surprise attacks. Both Israel and the United States have done so. There is such a massive trust deficit there. How could you possibly come to
but the trust deficit started with Iran.
I know.
Well, the trust deficit, the ones that shouldn't be trusted are the Iranians because they're the ones that sponsor terrorism. Did they forewarn us before they blew up the embassy in Lebanon and killed over 200 American servicemen?
No, sir,
did
they did
forewarn
not.
us before they built IEDs and blew the legs and arms off of American servicemen in Iraq?
No, sir, they did not.
I mean, these are the people that are doing this forever. They're the ones that no one should trust. They're the ones that have lied about their nuclear program.
But
they're the ones that have hidden things from the international organisms.
But that sounds like we're headed towards regime change, or the desire to get these people out of power.
No.
Are you?
No. A serious foreign policy is one that's focused on identifying what our national interest is. You don't have to like the regime. There are a lot of regimes around the world that we don't like, okay? But in this particular case, what we are focused on is not the changing of the regime. Okay, that's up to the Iranian people if they want to do that, but that's not what we're focused on.
If Marco Rubio is not running for president, I'm going to be pissed. Because I'll tell you right now, if JD Vance or Marco Rubio run for president, either one of those men have my fucking vote. And if they run, like, if Marco Rubio and JD Vance, if they run consecutively, right? So we just have Trump for 4 years. And then if we get JD Vance for 8 years with Marco Rubio as vice president, and then Marco Rubio runs and we have him for 8 years with JD Vance as vice president, I will lose my fucking mind. Because it's my life's goal to eventually attempt to become the president of this country, because I want to make this country amazing for all Americans. And eventually I want to restore America to being the beacon on the fucking hill, right? In every single interview I watch with fucking Marco Rubio and JD Vance, right? They just say common sense shit. They just tell it how it is. Trump does the same thing, and that's why I voted for Trump. Trump's just more brutal about it. Trump has less tact, right? Trump has less fucks to give. He's less diplomatic about how he fucking communicates, right? And Oh my God, man.
Our national interest is about one thing, and that is Iran not getting.
I'm definitely first. This message is just delayed. Yeah, delayed. You are indeed delayed. If you scroll all the way to the top, Sylv said second. I'm waiting for Sergeant Rose to run.
Anywhere near
That's right, baby.
the capability to weaponize and have nuclear weapons. They're not going to get anywhere near that capability. The president has made that clear from day one. Our preference for solving that problem, that very specific problem, is through diplomacy. We've said that. We've given it every opportunity. They played games. They tried to.
And see, he's being honest with you. He is literally saying that the U.S. government, right? He's the Secretary of State and Trump's the fucking president. They have stated that their preferential fucking method of coming to a resolution on this is legitimate fucking diplomacy. That is what they are preferential to. That doesn't mean that we won't use military fucking force if they do not want to negotiate. And it's like he's saying, it's like JD Vance has said, it's like Trump has said, it's like fucking Pete Hegseth has said, it's like a bunch of fucking common sense conservatives have said, right? Whatever, if they want to have a civilian nuclear program for energy, that's fine. Why do they have uranium or nuclear material enriched well past fucking energy usage? Because their entire underlying motivation is to acquire nuclear weapons. That's fucking why. It doesn't take a wise man to see that. It doesn't take someone who has common sense to see that. It doesn't take someone who's fucking Harvard educated to see that. It doesn't take anything except someone who has two fucking eyes and two fucking ears, and in between those two ears they have a fucking brain.
Delay tactics. They're trying to delay tactics now on the Europeans because of the snapback provisions.
When did the
talk about
president
the
make
JCPOA. That was a crazy
there
deal.
goes gravity.
When did the president make this decision? Because he said he was giving 2 more weeks of diplomacy on Friday, and on Friday these jets took off.
Yeah.
Well, the president retains the.
What do you mean? On Friday, he said, we got 2 more weeks to figure it out. But in the meantime, we're going to be fucking up your shit. What do you mean? People don't understand, right? So if it is a race to acquire something, you can't let off the pressure to try to engage in diplomatic relations. It's the same thing with a ceasefire, right? What both sides try to do in a ceasefire is that's legitimate. Both sides refrain from kinetic diplomacy, but at the same time that they're refraining from killing one another, they are still moving the chess pieces around in order to resume hostilities if need be, when traditional diplomacy doesn't they don't let off the pressure, right? You keep on the pressure because that's what puts people at the negotiating table. If the Iranian regime is operated by a radical Islamic fucking regime, right? Or group, and they don't fucking care about what anybody else wants. They literally have already had 1,700 public executions in the country of Iran this year already, right? There have been multiple people from Iran who no longer live in Iran who've done interviews, right? And they have said that they have friends and family who still live in Iran, and that right now, because Iran is being attacked by Israel, the Iranian regime is talking about executing Iranians to make sure that they do not revolt against the regime, right? So, how do you put pressure on people who have no problem with slaughtering their own people? You have to fuck up their shit so bad that they come to the fucking negotiating table. And that's why Marco Rubio he's a very fucking intelligent man. I don't fucking know the dude, but listening to him talk, you can tell he's a fucking intelligent man, right? And this is why I said I would vote for him. Why? Because he literally said what I've been telling y'all. We cannot regime change. The Iranian people have to regime change if that's what they fucking choose. That's the only way to ever successfully change the government of a country, right? That is literally how our country was formed. Is we decided we wanted regime change and we fought a war against them. and we won the war. And ever since then, up until lately, it's been practically smooth sailing.
The opportunity to pull out of this at any moment, including 10 minutes before. But the president ordered options. Look, the decision, in my view, was made when he wrote a letter to the Supreme Leader, and he said, over the next 60 days, we want to do a deal with you and solve this problem of nuclear weaponization.
Yeah.
We want to do it peacefully.
Okay.
If after 60 days we don't see progress or it isn't solved, we have other alternatives.
All right.
He made that very clear. I think what some people
Mr.
are struggling with here is that we today have a president who does what he says he's going to do. And that's what happened here. And hopefully
Mr.
the Iranian
Secretary,
regime got that message.
We're going to hit a commercial break, so I have to wrap you there. Thank you very much for your time.
I don't like. Does it not just like, it bothers me that when I see interviews and shit like that. Oh, what the fuck is this? Right? When I see like these people trying to act like they're doing interviews and all of this kind of dumb shit, and then they cut off the individual that they're interviewing for some arbitrary shit or some dumb shit. I get it. They have to run ads, right? They have sponsors that help keep their media company afloat, right? But what the fuck, dude? You're talking to the Secretary of State. That's kind of something, right? It's like, so if I was interviewing the Secretary of State, right, I would have no ads. I would run no fucking ads. I would put ads on the video after the fact, right? But I wouldn't stop an interview over ads. And that's the thing. I also hate, I get it why people have like, they have a certain time frame for interviewing people, right? Like they have 2 hours to interview someone or whatever. I'm just going to go until we basically exhaust the topic of the fucking interview. So that was Rubio, what Rubio had to say with the Face the Nation interview. Whoever the fuck that woman is, please get her the fuck out of there. Get somebody else. This isn't the first time we've seen this woman, right? She also was on the panel for CBS's interview between JD Vance and Tim Walz back in the vice presidential debate. And there she was just as fucking bad.
With the beat of the drum and the fife so high, we march with courage under the